We already know that Barcelona are looking to a life without Messi, but that's going to be in a few years just yet. So looking a bit more short term and who's going to line up for them next season. There promises to be a summer of spending at the Nou Camp and they've already brought in 1 or 2 starters. So who's going to start? That's what we're about to find out. So let's kick off right in between the sticks. First off, and of course, it's Marc-Andre ter Stegen. There really isn't a better goalkeeper in the world at the moment. Okay, maybe there's 1 or 2, but Barcelona do not have them. They're not going to sign the likes of Jan Oblak or David De Gea or even Ederson at the moment, so they're definitely going to go with ter Stegen. Even if Germany don't appreciate his talents and still have Manuel Neuer as number 1, Barcelona certainly do, and why not? He's been an incredible goalkeeper, not only making saves, but also in the build-up to their play, as he's more than competent on the ball. So I can't see Marc-Andre ter Stegen reign as number 1 ending anytime soon, especially as Jasper Cillessen looks on the verge of a move to Valencia, where Barcelona will get goalkeeper Neto in return, but obviously just as a backup for the cup competitions. So in goal, of course, Marc-Andre ter Stegen. Moving into the right back spot, and it has to be Sergi Roberto. Unfortunately, Nelson Semedo's challenge for that position just is not good enough. Yes, he has some good moments here and there, but it's got to be Sergi Roberto, who's already written himself into Barcelona folklore with that winner over PSG in the 6-1 victory, who is definitely the man for the job. He actually started his career as a midfielder, and it's from there he's taken the passing skills, the ball control, and the ability to run up and down for 90 minutes over to the right full-back spot. Especially as Barcelona don't necessarily play with a right winger, he's got a lot of ground to cover, and he's now added in a brilliant final ball and some excellent defensive work, and the 27-year-old is one of the best right-backs in Europe. He's not on the same level as the likes of Joshua Kimmich or a few others, but he's still up there and will definitely do the job. Centre-backs now, and there's a big decision for the bigwigs at Barcelona to make. Now, for one reason or another, the likes of Jason Murillo and Thomas Vermaelen just have not worked out at Barcelona. Of course, the earlier player has only been there for 6 months. That is along with Jean-Claire Todibo, the young French player who only has 12 professional appearances to his name at age 19, so isn't exactly experienced enough to take on a starting role. But the 19-year-old with a wealth of experience with a Champions League semi-final under his belt and a few trophies as well is Matthijs de Ligt. Now, in the last few weeks, the rumours have linked him to moving to PSG more than to Barcelona, but I can still see him moving to the Nou Camp. Certainly everyone at Barca will be hoping he'll follow former teammate Frenkie de Jong in joining them. And if you don't believe either of these rumours, well, apparently he's also joining Juventus. If only there were 3 Matthijs de Ligt. There's only one though, and I think that Barcelona really will shell out big money for him. Because he's so young, it's going to be worth it in the future. Even if they end up paying around 100 million, if they got him for the next 10 to 15 years, he'd definitely be worth it. The one problem is though that his signing and putting him into the starting 11, which they definitely would do because he could be a potential future captain, would mean the end for either Gerard Piqué or Samuel Umtiti. Certainly the end of their run in the first team. Now, alongside Umtiti and Piqué, there is obviously Clement Longley as well, but he would probably be the first to be dropped down the pecking order if all players are fit, even if Barcelona didn't even sign Matthijs de Ligt. So if they do, you can see him being further down the pecking order, and they're not going to sell him just yet because he's a bright prospect for the future. You can expect him to get a lot of minutes in the Cups and the various league games here and there. But as for the big two battling it out, well, on one hand, you've got Gerard Piqué. He knows the club, he's been loyal, he's been brilliant for years, he's coming off the back of a fantastic season, but he is 32 years old. As for Samuel Umtiti, he's 25 years old. He's got a lot of room to grow and could be there for the next few years to strike up a brilliant partnership. But his defensive quality has been questioned this season, and so has his consistency. The point is, at 25 years old, Barcelona are going to get much more money for Samuel Umtiti than they are going to get for Gerard Piqué. And it's for that reason that I can see them selling him to make a bit more cash available to sign de Ligt in the first place. Alongside Gerard Piqué, de Ligt could learn the ways from Piqué, have a more experienced head alongside him, and then eventually take over that captain-esque role. Of course, Piqué isn't captain, but he is such a stalwart in the team that he's one of the main players. So with a defence of Sergio Roberto on the right and de Ligt next to Gerard Piqué, we now come to the left-back spot, which of course is Jordi Alba. Not only is he a brilliant left-back, but Barcelona don't have anyone else. Last summer they sold Lucas Digne to Everton, who had a brilliant year on the blue half of Merseyside, and Samuel Umtiti has on occasion moved out to the left-back spot, pretty much only because he's left-footed, much like with Thomas Vermaelen. I don't think that really suits the club or the player, so Jordi Alba will definitely be the number 1 left-back. The same goes for central defensive midfield, where Sergio Busquets is just so good. He's one of these players that even though he's entering his early 30s, his kind of play doesn't necessarily rely on speed and stamina, the things that tend to deteriorate in a player as you reach the latter stages of your career. If he can still stand there, move the ball around with his brilliant technique, eye for a pass, which he definitely can, there's no reason he'll be dropped from the squad. Again, much like Gerard Piqué, he is the core of the Barcelona team and holds things together. I can definitely see him starting in a central defensive midfielder position. But a little bit further forward, that's where things get interesting. So ahead of him is new boy Frenkie de Jong. Now, many people have suggested that de Jong is actually a direct replacement for Busquets, but there's no reason why they can't play together for the first few years, much like the De Ligt-Piqué partnership at centre-back. With Frenkie de Jong, he's got everything that Busquets has: brilliant ball control, a perfect eye for a pass, but he's also a young, energetic box-to-box midfielder who can pop up with a long-range strike or two. Not saying that Busquets can't, but it is really, really rare. As for the others in the midfield area, well, Arturo Vidal is getting on a bit and really not providing consistently over the length of the season, and Carlos Alenya has just been promoted to the first team squad, so he'll be getting some minutes here and there as he's gradually entered into the first team fray. What it means though is that Frenkie de Jong will definitely be controlling that central midfield for the next few years to come, barring an absolute dip in his form and a complete loss of ability. I can't really see that happening. For any of you who have watched de Jong, you know everything that he's about. The other problem that this brings though is the likes of Ivan Rakitic may end up leaving. It's no secret that he has been rumoured to be joining pretty much every single massive club in and around Europe. Inter Milan have reportedly been interested. There's Manchester United, PSG as well, with all of their money. And I really don't think that Ivan Rakitic wants to leave, but he's not going to stick around and watch himself reduced to just some minutes off the bench. That's not what you really want when you're reaching the twilight of your career. The other central midfielder alongside Busquets and de Jong will be Arthur. Now, many people have been surprised how well Arthur has fit into the system, and some have even commented that it looks like he's come through La Masia himself, despite only joining Barcelona over a year ago. The midfielder looks so comfortable on the ball and plays so well within the style that Barcelona do that it's no surprise he has been such a fan favourite in his first season at the Nou Camp. What this means though is that it's rather a passive midfield, and it's without Coutinho. This is because he's been linked with a move away from the club. And I know what you're thinking, why would they get rid of someone they bought just 18 months ago? Well, his confidence looks absolutely shot, and I don't really see him fitting into this Barcelona side. Plus, if they do sell him and manage to get even around 100 million for him, they're halfway there from making a major signing. But we'll get onto that in just a minute. I know what you're probably thinking now, a midfield three of de Jong, Busquets and Arthur is probably quite passive, but that's nothing when you can just get the ball and give it to the most ridiculous front three in world football. Okay, maybe Liverpool and Manchester City fans will have something to say about that, which you can let me know in the comment section down below. But for Barcelona's front three, next season could be very interesting. So first off, and one of the attacking three will be Neymar. I say will be, he is the first choice option to head back to the Nou Camp, and if you believe all the reports in the last few weeks, he's even told his former teammates that he will be coming home and that he should never have left in the first place. That, along with the fact that he told PSG president that he wouldn't be coming back to the club, which is just downright rude. It seems that all the drama that follows Neymar is never surrounding his football, but if he gets back to the Nou Camp and get back to focusing on what he does best, which is playing football, then maybe, just maybe, we'll see a return to top form, the kind we saw when he won the Champions League as the front three of MSN dominated the Champions League a few years ago. Of course, this would be a huge output of money for Barcelona, and it looks like they may be offering Coutinho in a swap deal, but if things go completely tits up and they don't end up signing Neymar, I still think they could bring in Antoine Griezmann. He would fit in just as well with the front three, although more of a direct striker, and would probably go alongside Luis Suarez, eventually overtaking him. All the while, Messi will of course still be in the team as well. So let's say that Barcelona do go with Neymar. This means that it could be curtains for Ousmane Dembele. Now, I say this because despite all his ability, his attitude just isn't right, and I can't really see where he's going to fit in this Barcelona team. As I mentioned, Luis Suarez and Lionel Messi have been brilliant. In the last few years, they're the ones who provide all the goals, pretty much all the assists, and all the success for Barcelona in the attacking area. You're definitely not going to leave Messi out, despite the fact he just turned 32, and Luis Suarez still looks to be on top of his game. So I see it as Suarez maybe partnering Neymar or Griezmann up front, with Lionel Messi in the free role just behind. But of course, things can change, and this is where Dembele could find himself either completely in or completely out of the side. If Barcelona decide to play with a wide front three, so one on the left, one on the right, and only one in the centre, they're going to have to drop either Messi or Suarez. That's a stupid question. Of course, it's going to be Suarez. On the left, you could have Neymar. On the right, you could have Dembele. And in the middle, Lionel Messi. The only other way it could work is if they took out a midfielder, let's say Arthur, put Messi into the attacking role, put Suarez up front, and played with a 4-2-3-1. This season, I think they're going to go with a 4-4-2, but in the diamond shape. As I mentioned before, Busquets in a deep lying role, Arthur and De Jong alongside each other in central midfield, and then Messi in the free role behind Neymar or Griezmann and Luis Suarez. But what do you guys think? Of course, I want to hear all of your thoughts in the comment section down below about how you think Barcelona will line up. Will they sign any of these players? Who else are they going to bring in? And will Neymar eventually rejoin them all at the Nou Camp? Let me know of your thoughts down below. Smash the like button whilst you're down there, and I will see you guys next time.